Hello, and welcome to week 3 in the psychology of adulthood. And in this week, we are going to be taking on transitions into adulthood. I'm just uh, really happy to be back in Maine, actually, spending time in New Orleans and Mississippi, and then finally a week in Tennessee, riding all those Dollywood roller coasters, which was just way too much fun. Went there with my brother, sister-in-law, and my nephew, and we had a really, really great time, and my wife, of course. Um, So good to see you all, and let's get started here with chapter 3, transitions in adulthood. So essentially, we're looking. This is a psychology of adulthood. When does it start? And this, in the modern world, is actually not as clear as it used to be, in certainly in the ancient world and today, and years and years ago. Many cultures identifying that the roles, the status, and I'll get into this a little bit, status and roles of adults, significantly different than those of children, developed events, or rites of passage, is what the anthropologist termed them, was events in our lives that happen that signify that we are making a transition from one status to another, from childhood to adolescence, to adulthood. In fact, for most of human history, there was no adolescence. You went from childhood to adulthood. And because the expectations were exactly that, there was really no social need for us to develop this concept of adolescence. That really didn't come about until, in terms of the history of the concept of adolescence, really didn't come about until the advent of mandatory schooling in order to, one of the reasons was to reduce child labor. And those individuals were brought out of the factories and mines, and they had to be in school for a longer period of time. And we actually created this concept of adolescence. You had childhood. Then there was a period of time in which cognitively, the idea of being an adult, even physically in many ways, adults, but not all the responsibilities of being an adult. So, and those characteristics are going to be sort of the root of what we're looking at, particularly in the assignment. So, here we have a chapter looking at rites of passage, looking at ways in which individuals define for themselves or they're defined from outside as to when they transition into adulthood. Now, most of the chapter is taken up by my example. I put all the different things that happened to me that society sort of, this is one of them, this is one of them, this is one of them. And then I end with this idea that the first time I really thought myself that I was an adult was when I saw my name in the phone book. My name, not my family's name, not my parents' name. That was really kind of like, wow. I was still not fully an adult. And that's where the assignment comes in. So, there's a discussion. First, do like I did and express events in your life associated with the transition to adulthood. What were they? The first time you had a cigarette, the first time you drank something, or when you finally went to camp, might have happened really early. Maybe you left home early. Maybe you had to take on responsibilities because of the culture of your family. Maybe it was your first sexual experience. You don't have to go into any detail. Maybe it was when you had a child. Maybe it was when you graduated from high school, or maybe you're right now. You're in your late 20s, early 30s, and you're still not sure whether you're quite an adult yet. Share some of those incidences in your life about what that were important to you, like I shared in the examples in the chapter. Now, the assignment actually grew out of an in-class assignment. I'm going to make an attempt on doing this online, where I would conceptualize adulthood as a job. Now, let me clarify. Use the words status and role. Now, status and role are two sociological terms that refer to, for the case of this particular assignment, status is the job description. Status is the job title, and role is the job description. So, for example, if I said I'm a father, that's my status. What's the job description? What's the job description of a father? This is culturally defined, as well as your own individual choices as to what you want to put in that list. If you're going to say this person's a father, what are our expectations? What are society's expectations for that individual? And you can list them all. They're caring. They're the rough and tumble person in the house. With the little kids. Maybe they're the provider kind of thing. There's sexism there. It's all there. But whatever society has taught you in terms of what does father look like, and we have that internalized, maybe even idealized. So when we encounter the fathers in our lives that either succeed or fall short in that, we use that to evaluate just how good they are at being a father. Now, I'm going to use the job title, the status adult. I want you to think about, what does it mean to be an adult? What kind of skills, what kind of things do you need to have already done in order to be called an adult? So, because I'm using the analogy of a job description, we have the job title, which is adult. We have the things that you feel someone needs to have done, be in, whatever, attitudes, values, whatever, relationship with money, bills, all that stuff. What does it mean to be an adult? That's the job description. And then you're going to produce an evaluation. And you take each one of those pieces and you're going to put it on a Likert scale. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, never did it. 5, consistently do it. Scale going across. So if one of them is I pay my own bills, but then you're like, oh, okay, I pay my rent and I pay my car payment, but I'm on my parents' cell phone plan. 4, not 5, might be a 4. That kind of evaluation for each one of those things. So mostly an adult, but not completely. That's okay. Lots of people live in, different ways like that. That's perfectly fine. Particularly when you're a young adult today, it's tough out there. Things are expensive. And so, but you're doing this in the context of a small group. So I've divided you, the whole class, into groups of 3. Each one of you, independently, is going to come up with a job description and an evaluation. You do that all on your own. So you're going to have 3 different ones. You're going to post them in the discussion board. You're going to all take them. You're going to take all 3 of them, and you're going to discuss your results. How consistently were you an adult? I think, let me look at this. I'll show you. I'll get to the instructions in a bit, but over a period of time. And you're also going to discuss the different items that were on each other. Some of them were shared, but then somebody might have put an item on there you had never thought about, or maybe they put an item on there and say, I think a person can be qualified as an adult without that. That's okay. I want to see the discussion. This is a very small group. There's only 3 in each group. Now, let's first take a look at the assignment itself. So I have it in the course book here. Let's switch the screen here, the chapter 3 assignment, and the task. It's an assignment. It's going to involve a discussion and a submitted written assignment. Each of you will be placed in a group, and here's your task. 15 characteristics that depict adulthood. You'll form that as a test. Kind of each item on the list will be accompanied by a 1 to 5 Likert scale. Format that nice and neatly in the document, and post a copy of it in the discussion board. Post it in PDF format so anybody can open it. The others in your group will do the same. After you have completed the written assignment part, post a summary and interact with your peers in the discussion again. It's a little bit about Likert scales, a little bit about scoring, how you score on a Likert scale. And then this is each one of you have submitted this. The title page, the results on each test, summarization of your results, and a copy of your test. Now, because I was doing this in a face-to-face class, there's a little bit difference here. You're going to post your test. Just make sure your name's on it so that I know everybody in the group has posted a test. Then you're going to engage in the discussion. I'm going to see that discussion in the actual discussion board. Then I want someone in the group is going to summarize this, and then I'm going to grade the whole group. So you don't, it's not really submitted. I'm sort of, the discussion is replacing this assignment. So the old description was actually, I had people do this, they went home and they wrote it up and then submitted it. Kind of a lab report of sorts. This is, I'm changing this because it's online class. And what I want you to do is you're going to submit each one of you is going to submit your own adulthood job description and test evaluation. And you're all going to take each other's evaluations and share your scores with each other about how well you did, and then a discussion about the similarities and differences, and then together coming up with some, someone raise their hand and write a nice little, post their summary statement. Here's what we found out, the people in my group. Now, this discussion has been placed in the class. I'm going to go to the class here. Now, you're going to see this from my point of view, so it's going to look a little bit different because I'm an instructor. But if you go up here to assessment, you click on there, and you down here, this is where you can look at your grades, you can look at the assignments, you can look at the quizzes. Just go to discussions, and then in the class communication area, right there, you're going to see one of these. I see all of them, but there are 6 groups of 3. And so they're not in the graded discussions, although these are going to be graded. I put them in here. So you might only see adult job description 2. You might only see that. So you click in there, and that's where you would discuss with your group and post your documents. Now, the first thing I want you to do here on day 1 of the week is I want every single one of you right away to go into that discussion board and introduce yourself. I want to be sure that everybody has at least one partner in there. There are some people that are not participating in the discussions right now. They may or may not be taking the class. So because this is a group project, I don't want somebody just alone in their discussion board. So today, by tomorrow morning, at least everybody just go in and say, I'm here. And let's make sure that we have good attendance in this discussion so the dialogue can start. I'm asking you for pretty intense participation in the discussion this week because each of you has to contribute to the group grade that's going to be going on. So this is a group grade. Each discussion is going to be, unless somebody is not there and, 2 people end up doing this, the third person is not going to get a good grade. But I'll be looking to make sure everybody's participating in this. So a little bit of internet trickery here to try and establish a small group process. Go in there early, go in there frequently, go in there through the week. This is the only group process thing that I have in this class. So let's make it a really successful one, everybody contributing as much as possible. So that brings us to the end of this week. So have a great week. It's still nice and sunny, not quite fall yet, close. But it's nice out. Be well, take care, and I'll see you online. See ya.